Hi there, it's Kelly from Something Worth Having, and welcome to my corner of the table. With school just starting, I thought that I would show you how to alter a composition book. People like to be their own person, even in school, and everybody's composition books look the same, but you can decorate it for very little money and for just a little tiny bit of work and make it a lot more interesting. So I'm going to show you these. This is what I'm working with. It's not quite a composition book, but the principle will still apply. I picked these up at Walmart for like 94 cents. It's a 30-page personal notebook, but any composition book will work. This is 5 3/4 by 8 1/4, and all you have to do is measure your top to bottom and make sure that your cardstock comes over. So because this is 8 1/4, I've cut my cardstock to 9 1/4, and I'll explain that when I get to it. But this is what we're working with, and this is pretty much what we're going to be doing. So this is an altered notebook. It's got pockets on the inside. You will see that there is a strip that has not been done. That is because if I were to take the cardstock all the way down there, the book would not be able to close. Here on the back you have another pocket for things that you might want to do. So we're going to do something along that line. Now I am working with cardstock. When I do this with paper, and I do a lot of them with paper, I don't put the pockets on the inside because the paper is just not strong enough to handle whatever you're going to put in there. So only do the cardstock if you're going to do pockets. Okay, the other things that I have here are my ruler and my pencil. I'm going to have to mark some things off. I've got my tape and my mono glue. I have my folder that I use to burnish. I have a hole punch we're going to be using to mark some things. I have my score stylus, and I'm using cardstock, so I'm going to be scoring it on the book. I always score my cardstock to keep it from ripping. And then, of course, I have my dental tool for pulling up the backing on the tape. So for this book, what I've done is I've cut everything ahead of time. See if I can get it all out of here. So we've got 2 sheets of cardstock that are 9 1/4 by 5 3/4. And this only took 1 sheet of 12 by 12 cardstock, so it doesn't take a lot. This also only took 1 sheet. And this is the inside of the cover, and it's 8 1/4 by 5 1/4. This is the binding, 8 1/4 by 2 1/2. And these are the pockets, and we'll get to the pockets later. Now, one of the things that you need to be careful with a journal like this, some of the journals you can tell what's the front, you can tell what's the back. This one is very hard. I have gotten done with them to find out that I've made them upside down or even backwards. Always make sure, this one's got a little embossing on the back that says Pin and Gear, but you can barely see it. But when you open the journal, just make sure this is the top. Just make sure that you're looking at the right side, and just keep checking as you're making your journal, because it's very easy with something like this, to get it turned around. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our ruler and we're going to mark off a 1-inch line. Alright, I'm going to put this right here, make sure that's straight. I'm just going to draw a line right up. Okay, and we're going to do this to the back as well. So we want a 1-inch line. On the back. I gotta take my glasses off, I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, let's get the line up there. as soon as we've done that, we are going to take our small tape. I've got two sizes here. This is my 1/8 inch and this is my 1/4 inch. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the 1/8 inch tape and we're just going to put it right here on the line that we just drew. Alright. Where is my folder? There it is. And I can see that I didn't get that quite on there as straight as I would like, but it's not the end of the world. That's something that we can straighten out later, but the best thing to do is try to get it on there as straight as possible so that your lines are all even. Alright, and we'll put this on the back. You know, I always get the back more even, and I forgot that I've got my scissors. Forgot to mention that, my good old-fashioned non-stick scissors that I just love so much. That I forgot that I had them. Alright, so we're going to burnish these down. Alright, and then, like I said, make sure you know. Okay. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take the 1/4 inch and we are going to set it around the outside of this cover. Wow, I really got that on crooked. So, well, we'll fix that when we put it together. Alright, so we're going to burnish these down. And just so that I'm ahead of the game, I'm going to put them on this side as well. I know it can take some time. Just get it as close to the edge as you can without going over. And it doesn't have to be, you know, from top to bottom. You know, obviously I've got some space here that doesn't have tape on it. Alright, we'll burnish that down as well. I'll turn this over. Alright, so we're going to take our cover, and I'm using this buffalo check as the cover, and we're going to take our 1/4 inch tape, and we are going to tape one side of this. Now this only has a certain amount of directionality. It really doesn't have any directionality at all, because it doesn't matter if you cut it forwards or backwards, you still got the same buffalo checks. It's not like a tartan or something that's got some directionality to it, or pictures of flowers or anything like that. So but always pay attention to your directionality so you're not accidentally putting something on your book upside down. Alright, so I've got that 1/4 inch tape on that outside edge, and I'm going to take that off. Throw it away. And this is the glue I want. So then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to take off this there at the binding. I'm trying to think of the best way that you can see what I'm doing. You want to make sure that you've got plenty above and below the book, so that you've got plenty of room to fold it in. So try and make it as even as possible. And I'm going to try to make this as even as possible, even though I made that tape very crooked. Alright, now the reason that I cut extra at top and bottom, but I did not cut extra, I mean this is 5 3/4, which is the same size as the book. The reason I didn't cut extra is because I was going to offset it. If you are going to have this piece go from the front to the back, or from side to side, you need to make sure you cut this an inch extra. So this would have been 6 3/4. I didn't need to do that because I knew that I was going to be offsetting it. Now, we're going to pull this back and we're going to take this tape off. Alright. And we are going to see if I have any glue left. We're going to put just a light bead. You might not be putting any beads. There we go. Just a light bead of glue. I just need a little bit to hold it down better and make sure that the middle stays down. It doesn't take a lot of glue, and you don't want too much because you don't want this warping or buckling. Alright, so we're going to get that all burnished down. And then we're going to open it up, and you can see I've got the extra, and even got it a little off, but we have plenty of room to fold it on both sides, on all sides actually. Okay, so we're going to take our scissors and we're going to miter the corners. So cut it as close as possible. Leave about 1/8 of an inch. Oops. And despite the fact this has rounded corners, it is going to end up being a notebook with sharp corners. Alright, so we're going to lay this out here, and we're going to get our 1/4 inch tape, and we're going to tape the edges as close to the edge as possible. That's kind of a theme with doing these. Let's hold it down close to the edge as possible. And we're not going to bring this all the way over because the cardstock does not go all the way over. Let's see if I can do this without reaching over. Get that as close as possible. Okay, so let's burnish these edges. But then, before I fold this cardstock, I want to take my stylus and I want to run it along the edges of the cardstock to give it a light score. Alright? So we're going to take the tape off. We're going to fold it carefully and use our folder to burnish it down. And burnish in, do not make the edges sharp. Kind of stay away from that edge, and it'll help prevent tearing or breaking in the cardstock. This is actually very light cardstock, so I'm not going to have too much trouble. But you know, some of the other cardstocks I use when I'm doing this are very heavy, and if you burnish right along the edge of that notebook, it gives it, there's more of a chance it's going to break. We don't want that happening. Alright? So burnish, you know, here where you're folding it down, but stay away from the edges. Alright? And we're going to bring this up. Burnish that down. Alright? Okay. Now that we've got that taken care of, we're going to go back to our tape. And again, we are going to put, I'm going to find the edge there. There we go. Again, we are going to put it on the very edge. Maybe not quite the very edge, just give it a little bit of room. Put it on the edge. Boy, I just lose that so quickly. There we go. On the edge of your cardstock. And this is going over a little bit. Oh no, I guess it's not. But I'm going to be putting cardstock over the top of it, so it's not a big deal if it goes over a little bit. just as long as it doesn't go all the way down, because we need this section to not have anything on it so that it closes okay when we get the book all done. Now, we're going to take our inside, our 8 1/4 by 5 1/4, and we're going to decide which way we want that. We want it this way. Okay, so we want the tape at the bottom and we're going to do this just like we did the cover, and I do it this way because it helps me make sure that everything is on straight. I'm not just kind of willy-nilly throwing it on there and hoping that it covers everything or that it's not crooked. I make sure before I have it pressed down and adhered that it's the way I need it to be. So just put it right over the top, just like the tape isn't there. We're going to measure it out, or not measure, but we're going to just fit it in, make sure it's where it needs to be, and then because we just took the tape off, we're going to go ahead and press that down because it's on the edges where it needs to be. Alright, let's turn this around so you can see it. And again, just like we did on the cover, we're going to pull the tape. You know, I always say that we're taking the tape off. We're not taking the tape off, we're taking the top off the tape, but I'm sure you all know what I mean. Alright, and then here we have, oh, it's starting to run out. Get that fine bead on there. I may have to pull out the other bottle. Alright, and we're going to lay that down as gently as possible. Get that burnish down. Okay. Now, we're going to wait to come back to the pockets. I prefer to wait until we're done, and then come back to them. That way, if there's any glue, any moistness, anything like that, that we're not fooling with any warping or anything, or causing any more problems with it. It's just something that I prefer to do at the end. You can do it however you would like. Now we're going to take the 1/4 inch tape. We're going to tape right along the edge. Right along the edge of this cardstock here. Alright. And we will come back to that. First, what we need to do is we need to do the back side. So I'm going to go a little faster with this one because I just showed you what you need to do. But I will still explain. So we're going to put this tape down on this edge. Get that burnished down. Pull it back. And then we're going to take the notebook and pull back this right here, back where the binding is going to go. The only thing that back piece of tape really does is keeps you understanding where the edge of the cover is at, where the edge of the cover is. Now, if you can do that without putting the tape down, more power to you, go ahead. I find that it's easier for me to put the tape down. And we're going to make sure that goes nice and evenly over the edges, but also nice and evenly so that we can fold it just like we did on the front. And pull backing off the tape. And let's see if we have enough glue to get a bead down. We do. I think we're just about done. It's expensive glue. I hate to not use every bit of it, but I have to tell you, I highly recommend it. It is the best glue I have ever used. It lasts for a long time. I got a box of, I want to say 20, but it might have only been 10. I'll post the link for it on Facebook. I got a box of it in May. It is now nearly the end of August, and I still have one tube of it left. So it's, and part of that time I was using it heavily because I was out of tape. It's great stuff, and it lasts forever. It doesn't take much. All right, so we're mitering the corners. Let's get this stuff thrown away. And then we're scoring right along the edges. All right. We use our 1/4-inch tape. Tape it down. All right. We will burnish that. And always burnish. I mean, it looks like it's not doing anything, but honestly, I have pushed air bubbles out. I have been very surprised at finding that the tape is not down the way it should be, or there's glue under the tape, and I've managed to push it out rather than leave a big glob in there. Honestly, it doesn't look like it does much. Burnishing does a lot. Always burnish. All right, we're going to pull the tape off. Very carefully fold that. Again, try not to burnish the edges so that you don't crack or break the cardstock. All right. And then that pulled up. All right. And we've got everything burnished down. Now, back to the tape. There near the edge, not quite right to the edge, but near the edge. As a general rule, when I put the covers on most of my stuff, now it doesn't count. On this I usually take it right to the edge, but I don't always take the inside cover to the edge so that it's got that folded over look that you see in old published books, where you can see a bit of the front cover folded over on the inside. But generally with my notebooks, I take it all the way to the edge. Alright, and then we need our other piece of inside of the cardstock, so we need this on the bottom. Put on there. Burnish that down and then peel it. All right. Go ahead and match that up. And then burnish it. We're going to peel all of the tape off. Just like before. See if we have any glue left in here. If not, we'll just open the other one. Yep, I'm constantly surprised there's a little bit left in there. There we go. Get that burnished down. Alright, now, keep in mind which cover you're working with, because as soon as we're done with them, they're going to look identical, just like they did before we put the paper on them. So we're going to get our tape down here, get that burnished. Now, this is the front. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our piece that's 8.5 by 2.5, and that is our binding. So we're going to take our tape. I always prefer tape with binding. I've had nothing but trouble with the glue. It doesn't always stay down the way I want it to, and so I just use, you know, if you want to put a little glue to help it along, that's fine. Sometimes I'll put, you know, glue in this cardstock area. But I always hold it down with tape. So we're going to put tape on both of the long sides. Alright. Now, we're only going to peel up one side. Let's get our dental tool here, get this one peeled up. There we go. And we're going to make sure you got it right. We're going to get this one peeled up because this is the direction we want it to go. And I'm just going to kind of slide this along here and make sure that I catch it on the tape, but I also want to make sure that I'm straight. And this is a little easier to do with this cardstock because it is that check pattern. You get it on there straight and there's no problem. Okay, let's burnish that. We're going to fold it around like this. I do not believe I didn't cut that enough. Interesting. No, I'm not going to be able to pull that up. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fold this down. If you make a mistake, it's not really the end of the world. It happens. I'm not sure why that didn't work, especially since I do these all the time. And that is always the measurement I use. So I'm just going to do something a little different here, and I'm going to very quickly throw down some, you know what, I'm going to need to get the other bottle of glue. I'm going to very quickly throw down a very light bead of glue. Make sure I get it all the way to the edge. And I am just going to lay this on here. It'll be a little bit of a decoration. A little different than what I usually do, but there's usually no problem that you can't fix. And especially if you're doing something creative. I have thrown things away. I will be the first to admit it. It's happened. It happens to everybody. but you know, materials are expensive, so I always try to figure out if I can fix it first. And you know, it'll be different. You will now be able to tell the back from the front. All right, so we've got the binding down. So this is what the front looks like. Now, I don't have anything prepared, but as a general rule, when I do any of my projects, I have a quote of some kind that goes on the front. This is the type of thing I do, Louis L'Amour or Rudyard Kipling or something like that, but I put a quote or maybe the word journal or something like that. But this kind of gives you a bit of an empty slate to work with and figure out what you want to put on the front yourself. Now, let's get to the pockets. These pockets are all the same size. They are all 8 1/4 inches, by same size, the same length. So what I generally do with them is I put them together like this, and I find the middle point with my ruler. There it is. So 8 1/4 actually looks like it's closer to 8 inches instead of 8 1/4. Oh, that's because I don't have the ruler all the way over there. Okay, so 8 1/4, half of that is going to be 4 1/8. So I am going to put right here at 4 1/8 a dot that I can see. I don't know if you can see it, but there is a little dot right there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my circle cutter and I'm going to turn it upside down, and I'm going to stick all 3 papers in here because they're fairly light and I should be able to cut them all. But I'm only going to put it halfway in. Alright, they're going to be difficult. So we're going to, there we go. Now, I have a semicircle taken out of each one that acts kind of as a tab for opening your pocket. So the large one is for the back. We're going to start with the front. Now when you do pockets, always use wet glue. Always use wet glue. Tape takes up too much space, you know, 1/4 inch, 1/8 of an inch, whatever. It always takes up too much space. Always use wet glue. So I'm going to put just a light bead of glue all along the edge of this pocket. This is the front pocket. It's 8 1/4 by 3 1/2. Now I'm going to open the book. And remember I told you, you can't have anything down in this section here. So I'm going to adhere the pocket to the edge of the cardstock right here. Now this glue dries fairly quickly. That's a bonus with it. It does dry fairly quickly, but it's still wet glue. It's still wet. So be careful with it. One of the benefits of it being wet glue is that if you've got something off a little bit, you can go ahead and fix it. Okay, so there's pocket number 1, and to keep that open, I'm going to put my mouse on there. Now I'm going to take, this is my 8 1/4 by 2 1/4. This is the other front pocket. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put just a very light bead of glue all around this edge. And then I'm going to put it on top of this pocket. And I'm going to burnish it. And right now I've got glue coming out everywhere. I'm going to it will kind of get all over the place, so be careful. It stays sticky for a while. So once in a while you might have one of these projects and you'll open it up and your front page is sticking to it. You just have to be very careful with it. But there is the inside of the front. You've got your pockets and your pockets. You've got these little So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to very carefully lay something over here so that that page doesn't stick to it, and we're going to do the back. The back I always make a large pocket. This is 8 1/4 by 4 inches. I don't know why, that's just always the way I do it. Obviously it's your notebook, you can do it however you want. But my back pockets are always my big pockets, and then my smaller pockets are up front, and I literally do this with just about every journal I have. It's just my thing. Alright, so we're going to put that down. Where's my, oh, I put it in the front. Alright, so we're going to and there is your back pocket. Alright, back pocket. Here's your front with the front pockets. There's your cover that you can do anything you want with because it's completely open. Decorate it, write on it, leave it if you want to. But yeah, there you have gone from this plain craft notebook to this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.